Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back for another episode. I am so excited to bring you guys this episode today. This is going to be absolutely life-changing. We have an incredible guest. So today's guest has a bachelor's in psychology, a master's in marriage and family therapy, and 22 coaching certifications and counting. Over the past 17 years, she's impacted more than 50,000 people, guiding women to be unapologetically successful. She has over 100 million views online and over 500,000 followers. It's the one and only Margot Miller.
Hello.
Welcome to the show. I'm so grateful to have you.
Thank you.
You and I were just chatting a little bit right before the episode started. We have actually so much of the same social circle, and we are into so many of the same things. I am so surprised that we have not connected up until this point.
I know.
It's crazy.
Was delayed destiny.
It's meant to be.
Yeah.
Completely. So I'm so excited to share your mission and your education with my audience. So where I want to start is, now that you are currently incredibly successful, the mother to the old souls, I want to know how exactly you got here and what life and maybe health challenges you have had to overcome to become this amazing version of you today, because I know you've been very transparent about having those challenges throughout your upbringing to now become visible and become the successful version of you that you are. And I think that will be very relatable for people to hear, that it has not been an easy path for you. So if you are willing, I would love for you to share a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, so my journey into entrepreneurship was very unconventional, as most entrepreneurs, but I never was like, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I just got really sick. I got a neurological disease when I was in grad school.
Okay.
And I was basically told like so many different things. Either people were like, you're making this up, or you have a brain tumor and you're going to die. Oh, wow. And so there was basically no solution. So after like years of going to doctors and getting nowhere, I was like, fuck it. Like, I'm just going to go to LA and like live my best life.
Yeah.
And so I ended up like making these like videos that were so cringy. Like,
oh, same. I've been there.
Blackmail. It's blackmail. And like had this whole era of like being unhinged. I was so sick at the time, but I would like chug coffee and like put like weird dance moves online. Anyways, it kind of like ended up going viral because it was so cringy.
Like on YouTube?
On like Instagram.
Okay.
Just, you know, like memes would repost me, that kind of stuff. Nothing like profound.
Okay.
And it kind of started this movement of like, let your freak flag fly. Yeah. And like, it was kind of this declaration of like, I'm moving away from the clinical path for now, because I was on track to getting my doctorate at the time.
Okay.
And I basically went in a completely opposite direction.
Yeah.
Because that was like the pull of my soul. And it was kind of this unfolding of like the coaching industry that went more into like healing. But it really happened from this place of like, I have no energy. I'm dead. So I'm literally just going to live my best bedridden life and do whatever the fuck like calls to my soul. Yeah. And that was actually the entry point to this brand that you're seeing now.
Okay. So when you were younger, when you were diagnosed with that condition, is that what they said? Your destiny is to be bedridden. You will never amount to anything. Like you are, did they say physically, health-wise, that it was going to impact you forever?
Oh, yeah. I had people tell me that I'm going to end up getting cancer and dying. I had people tell me that I might have a brain tumor. I had people telling me just like, there's nothing we can do. There's no cure.
Okay.
So I literally had years of just going to doctor after doctor, just being so defeated that I just got to a point where I was like, okay, fuck it. Like, if I don't have a life, I might as well just do whatever I want, or what I felt pulled to do. And I was like, I'm going to move to LA and create an online community. I had no fucking clue what I was doing. And it was like, it felt very risky because I was like letting go of this really solid path that I thought that I was going to be on. But it's just like, I was like, I have nothing to lose. And that old life felt like it was more out of a conditioning of what I thought I needed to do, more obligation. And this was more just like unhinged, living life by the seat of my soul.
Yeah. Now, has anyone in your family ever been an entrepreneur? Is that something internally that you just got the bug for, maybe due to the internal health condition that you had, and you're like, I'm just going to forge my own path. If I've got nothing to lose, why not? Had you had any successful examples in your life, or any path to follow, any business mentor? How exactly did you start that journey?
Yeah, I've actually never had a business mentor before, a business coach. So during my let your freak flag fly era, there was a point where my body just totally like collapsed. Like it wasn't sustainable the way I was kind of like putting myself out there. And so I finally collapsed in my bed and I just was like, I give up. Like I felt like I had this deep purpose, but like it wasn't working. And I just was like, all right, God, universe, whatever. I was like, show me what my path is. Like bring it to me because I don't have any energy and I just keep crashing out. And like slowly people started coming to me through like word of mouth, and I started doing more like healing stuff. So it was more like I just kept bottoming out and being like, give me direction, give me guidance, show me the next step. There wasn't anyone that really came before me. In fact, my family was like, what are you doing? They were horrified. I was like 31 years old, like in a dinosaur suit, running up and down Hollywood Boulevard. They were just like, we failed.
They're like, what's going on?
We failed as parents. So like, there wasn't a lot of like, we see the vision. Yeah. This is going somewhere.
But I feel like that's so common, and it's so transparent to talk about. From my own personal journey, oh my God, there's been so many ups and downs and cringe moments and things I look back like, what was I doing? Yeah. But it's almost like every step led you there. And it's funny what you said about when you set the intention, show me my next move, show me my path. I've felt that on my own journey as well. The energetic pathway will open when you set the intention, the people, the resources. Even if you don't know what to do, the downloads will come when you set the intention, I'm ready to elevate. So it's funny that once you internally started believing there was something greater out there for your life, the pathway started opening.
On top of that, and I don't know if this is like true for your experience, I had to like wire out a lot of lack. I was in so much like desperation. I had to be like, pretending in my mind like I was living my purpose for it to show up. It was like a desperate call, but it was also being like, all right, I'm no longer gonna like feel in my body like I don't have a calling. I don't have a big life right now. Like I just had to really internally shift a lot in order to also energetically match with it.
So now that you have worked with so many women and you have an amazing, thriving personal brand, if you could sum it up, what do you think is not only your mission on earth, but the number one thing you know you were called to do and share with those women?
I think my biggest path is helping old souls get visible.
For those who don't know, not to interrupt.
Yeah.
What, for like my audience who's never heard you say that, maybe they don't follow you, what would be considered an old soul?
Yeah. So an old soul, if you kind of look at it on a graduation level of incarnating onto planet Earth, is basically just someone coming to the end of their incarnation cycle. It's someone who has a lot of empathy. That's kind of like the ultimate marker. And it's typically people who end up gravitating towards service-oriented positions or making impact in the world.
Yeah. So like coaching, leaders, mentors.
Bingo.
So you're wanting to find those women in the world who maybe have that visibility wound, help them become more of their best self to share their education with the world.
Spot on.
Love that. I know my audience is going to love that because most of my people are incredibly into manifestation, mindset, personal growth, transformation. And when you said right there that the old souls are the ones who have empathy, automatically I thought, well, there's not many of those left on earth right now. Currently, due to everything we're going through, that's a very rare, low percentage of the population. So I know you have a few different coaching and mentorships and ways that women can work with you. What do you think is the number one thing that most women come to you for, the majority? What are they stuck with? What is holding them back? What is the number one thing right now that women feel that they're behind in life, or the block that they cannot move forward? What do you think that comes from, and how can you help them remove that to become their best self?
Yeah, I think most women have a lot of visibility wounds, particularly empathic people that have a higher calling.
Yeah.
So 100% people who are growth-oriented, manifestation-oriented, self-development-oriented, I found that there's kind of an archetype that comes with that. And typically that is like, you know, maybe being bullied for something as a kid, or having a deep insecurity, or having health problems. There's sort of like an archetype that comes with that calling. And so what happens is when we go to show up with our gifts, we relive the pain of our past. We go into the worst case scenario, and it's not just on a microscopic level of like, oh, I'm afraid of judgment. It's like a very deep-seated program. And so I find that in order to fulfill our mission, we have to undo that programming to really get out there, because it takes a lot of audacity. It takes a lot of courage. And that takes a process of rewiring in order to be fulfilled.
Especially on the internet these days, I feel like people can be so critical, judgmental. I know for me, I definitely had a fear of being seen at the beginning of my journey. Even now, a decade into entrepreneurship, people these days are unhinged, and they can be critical and mean, and you really have to believe in your mission more than you're going to believe in the criticism or the hate that will come with. But I think also when you know you're living in the vibration of your passion, you can't mess it up, because if you know that's what you're meant to share with the world, like we talked about earlier, some people will come in who are going to be critical or not aligned with the mission, but those aren't your people. Yeah. So focusing on the ones who are, I think is incredibly powerful. And I recently heard a speech from the Life Surge event. Ed Milet was speaking, and he said, the number one person that you are most qualified to help is the version of you that you used to be. And that quote really hit me. And that makes me think of when you said the fear of visibility. So that is something that you felt deeply growing up. You had that fear of visibility and you've lived it. So is that now why you believe you're most qualified to help these women?
Yeah, people have a hard time believing it when they see my content, that I like struggled to put myself out there. Yeah. But 100%, like I was born with a birthmark on the left side of my face, underwent all these insanely painful surgeries, like as a way to protect me. My family would like put makeup on me or hide me out. So I was terrified of being seen, because for me it was like associated subconsciously with like being tortured, on top of like tons of other experiences that really kind of traumatized me. And so 99% of my journey has been like cultivating this courage to have a corrective experience, to put myself back out there in the world and create something bigger than my past. And I feel like I've kind of mastered it, and that's why people can come to me. A lot of us have skeletons in our closet that we're afraid will come out with visibility. We have physical insecurities that hold us back. I mean, there's like such a magnitude of things that we get to overcome in the pursuit of our impact. And so that's really what I'm passionate about.
Yeah. And it's great that when they come into your collective, you're not just someone speaking with the surface level motivation, you've lived it. And I think that is one of the best mentors and people you can have in your life. If they've actually walked your journey, I'm sure these women can connect to you on such a deeper energetic level because you've been there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I believe unconsciously, not saying that I like fully manifested my neurological disease. I think part of that was like divine intervention, putting me on a different path. But I know that there was a protective layer with being sick.
Yeah. Okay.
So I know that it helped me feel safer being hidden from the world.
Wow.
So there was definitely a lot that I had to overcome to like create the brand I have today.
So do you think with these women, I know we had talked about it before, you've impacted over 50,000 women, over 500,000 social media followers. Out of all those people, would you say the number one thing people come to you and they're kind of scared of is being seen fully and accepted for who they are?
Bingo. Because without that, we can't make impact.
Yeah.
Without that, we can't make money.
Yeah.
It's the foundation of building a personal brand. It's the foundation of entrepreneurship when you are meant to lead. Yeah. And so without that component, it's very difficult to kind of fulfill our mission.
Oh, yeah. It's almost like you'd be fulfilling it at 50% capacity. Yeah. But if you actually went over that line and you were 100% transparent, even if some criticism came, you'd be living such in authenticity that your mission would just be even greater.
100%. And I think to your point, there's so many layers of the game. Like sometimes we might not have a problem showing up, but it's like a more watered down version.
Yeah.
So it's like sometimes it becomes more subtle over time, and kind of peeling back those layers to step more into like our authentic power, our true brand voice.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I'm most interested in, like activating in people.
Yeah. I love that, because we see so many people on social media within their specific niche. I'm a business coach. I'm a health and fitness coach. I personally have not come across many where their number one mission is to help people uncover that visibility wound and break through that. So I feel like that's what makes your content and your mentorship as well very unique. I haven't seen many other people. I have not seen one other people ever say mother to old souls. Like, you definitely have such an unique but amazing brand where so many things can be kind of clumped together, or there's so many of the same coaches. I think yours really stood out when I first came across your content because we relate on so much. But the mother of old souls, that I was like, what is that? I got to watch all her videos. It draws you right in. And when you're living in that vibration of absolute authenticity, you're going to attract the people on the same vibration. So I feel like also for you there, if I could take an educated guess, you can explain, but I bet you've never had to beg or chase for any clients. They've just flown into your vibration when it's right. Has that seemed to be your path?
100%. I'm really thankful because I had such a long, hard road getting seen that now that when I do show up, like people will be like, I watched a video and I booked a call. I don't even know why I'm here. They'll be like, I don't even know what you do on this call, but like, I just knew I had to work with you. Or they'll be like, I'm barely on social media. A video popped up and I just knew I meant to, like, I feel like there's kind of like a destiny that I have with my soul community. I know that's a little woo, but like it feels very like there's a specific archetype that I'm here to serve.
Oh, 100%. That's something that I teach in a lot of my teachings as well, which you and I briefly talked about before the episode. But I think one of the number one things that people struggle with, because everybody wants to manifest and attract wealth and abundance, they believe they need to chase it, or they need to beg for it, or they need to work hard. A lot of my work as well is rooted in, you've got to believe that's who you are at the core, and you've got to know that abundance is your absolute birthright. And if you really believed that, you would not be begging for the sale or chasing. You would know that, for example, with social media, when you put out that authentic content, your authentic ideal avatar, they're going to show up in your vibration. It shouldn't require any begging or chasing.
100%.
So,
I do sales very differently in my company.
Yeah, I would love to hear about that.
Never asked for a credit card on the spot. I'm like,
okay,
take your time. If you join, great. If not, no problem. Like,
very no pressure.
No pressure. I've never overcome a sales objection in my life. It will in this brand. I'm like, it's either for you. And I'm very honest with people. Like, I'll just be like, this ain't it. Like, and they're surprised when, like, I don't do discovery calls anymore, but when I did in the beginning, people would be shocked. I'm like, yeah, you don't need this. Here's what I actually think would help you. Like, it's very much like, I'm here to solve a problem. If I can solve it, I'll be very confident that I can with no pressure about closing. That's kind of how I've built this brand.
I love that. I know people I've hired in the past, or coaches, mentorship. I'm very into personal development and education. I've spent tens of thousands on programs and mentors. I love all that stuff. And I think back in the day when I started, it used to be you have to know, like, and trust someone before you're going to buy. Now I can see an ad, or I can see somebody's content I resonate with on one post. I'm just buying. If they got me and they're within my energetic vibration, I'm more than happy to share that abundance currency because I know they're going to provide value. So for you, it's interesting to hear how people have flown in without any resistance.
Yeah.
And that's something I wanted to ask as well. I was looking over your work, and I know, was it within 1 calendar year you had reached your first million with no paid ads?
Yes.
Do I have that correctly?
Correct. That is correct.
And is that all from social content?
Yes.
Okay. So for the women watching who are building their business, if you would like to share a little bit about your entrepreneur journey and hitting your first 7 figures solely through organic online content, I would love if you can just share maybe some of the challenges, maybe some stuff you've overcame, or if it really has been such a seamless path because you are so clear on your exact client avatar.
Yeah. I wouldn't use the word seamless in the experience of
Never is.
that first 7 figures at all. I kind of was at a point where I was like, my life had just imploded so much before the brand that I got to this point where I finally had enough health. I was like, cool, we're out of bed. I was like, there's not much that I'm not willing to do. So I took on an astronomical amount of clients that first year, which I'm so eternally grateful for because, one, it showed me how deep my capacity was, especially being so sick. I didn't really know what I could possibly do as a human. So it showed me my potential. I got to know my avatar like the back of my hand, and it just catapulted the brand. So I would say that it was less like so much of it was energetic and so much of it was like me shifting my identity. And it also was a lot of like digging deep, testing my own limits of my capacity. Obviously year 2, I'm doing things. I'm like, how easy can I make it this year? That's my new thing. I'm like, how seamless can it be now? Now that I did that, like push from my absolute soul. Now I'm like, all right, let's see how like easy we can scale this. Let's see how like good it can get. That's more the energy I'm in now, but that definitely was not the year 1 energy.
Right. So your first year was more taking on one-on-one clients, really delving deep into what education can I provide them, getting clear on that client avatar. I know you said now you know it like the back of your hand. So what would you say is your ideal client avatar?
Yeah, so I think ultimately it is the old soul. It's people who feel chosen for a higher calling. You can call it starseeds. There's like different terminology that I kind of intertwine, but it's ultimately somebody here with that deep feeling in their soul that they're destined for more, like something bigger.
So they know they have a big mission internally, but maybe maybe they're unaware they even have that visibility wound. They know they're going to need to break through that next level to share that mission with the world, but they need someone to guide them into that new identity.
Bingo. And I think sometimes for a lot of us, we can feel the finish line. We can feel the end vision. We know what our dreams are, but it's actually like the mundane building in between of where we're at and where we want to be. That's actually like the more challenging part for like older souls.
Yeah, that's very true. Okay, so you and I talked about this a little bit before off camera, but I want to go back to that word manifestation. My audience knows this is my entire brand. I love teaching people, especially the neuroscience behind manifestation and how they can actually actively manifest anything in life they desire. Nothing is off limits. And I believe looking through your content, I have seen the word manifestation on your page, but I know it's not the obviously overall theme or education that you're sharing. But I'm curious, from your point of view, as someone now with so much success, what is your definition of manifestation? Do you believe that word has been heavily misperceived online? What does it mean to manifest anything? And do you believe that you've manifested your current success in reality?
Yeah, I think to totally simplify it, I think manifestation ultimately just means to make real.
Okay.
Right. So it's taking a vision and bringing it to life. I think where it gets convoluted is people think you just think your way through. And that's not to say that you can't call in opportunities through like thought alone. But when you're building a brand and you're building a business, to me, the ultimate way of manifesting is through bold moves. Like, this wasn't just something I thought about, put on a vision board and like got in a high vibe. This was like actually like showing up, understanding my brand message, solving a really clear problem for people. So for me, manifestation happens through making really uncomfortable aligned moves over and over and over again until I become a different identity where the result is normalized.
Yeah. So through most of your, business teachings and what you teach other women, a part of actively manifesting anything they desire and busting through those visibility wounds is taking bold action. Is that a big part of your mentorship?
Yeah, I think if you take a lot of really quick, bold moves, that will shift your beliefs and shift your basically programming.
Yeah.
The problem is a lot of people have to sometimes shift their mindset before they make a bold move.
Oh, 100%.
Right. Like most of us don't just wake up and be like, I'm going to go do the thing that actually like scares the shit out of me. Most of us have to kind of shift into a different person before we can even get the courage to take that first jump.
Yeah.
But I think ultimately through the momentum of doing the same thing that's really uncomfortable over and over again, that is the fastest way to manifest.
Yeah. So would you say your first year in business hitting that 7 figures was solely through the mindset work, the education, becoming visible, but also you're more than happy to admit you had to take radical, bold action over and over. You had to show yourself online, become visible in order to call that path in.
Yeah, I massively shifted who I was internally, and then I massively took bold moves.
Okay.
That was that programming internally and then externally like running was the combination that like blew up the brand.
So the two together was the secret sauce. Yeah.
Husband and wife.
Something I teach my students too that I think you will heavily resonate on is my students in my programs know I say all the time, you will never be able to out-manifest who you believe that you are. So if you want wealth and abundance or whatever it may be, you can scream affirmations till you're blue in the face. But if you're holding an opposing internal identity, it will not be able to collapse into matter and you will not experience it here in the physical plane. So for you, it seems like a lot of your work is rooted in self-concept and identity. Now, are you finding what is the core identity that most of your followers or client avatars come to you with? And what is the ending, identity that you help them elevate into? If you could put it into words.
Yeah, so I actually have a curriculum that people move through in terms of identity shifts. So people come in, our identity is based around survival.
Yes.
We undo the programming and we step into an authentic version of ourselves, like our authentic self. And then from there, we can kind of figure out what our purpose is, what we're meant to do. Then we get to step into our CEO self.
Yes.
And that's really like who we show up in our brand, our business, the version of us that we turn on when we turn around the camera, who we're helping. And then from there, we can create our unapologetically successful self, which is basically manifesting business and beyond. It's like having that amazing friend circle. It's being in partnership. It's having health, whatever you want outside of it. It's kind of like having it all.
Yeah.
So I find that there's a process of multiple identity shifts that we get to kind of transform through in order to get to that like final
But
line.
at the root of it is the identity and self-concept work, right?
Oh, 1,000%.
Okay.
That's like 95% of the game.
See, I feel like that's the part that most people miss. And we talked about this before. Most people, I feel like, are chasing or begging or they're overdoing the external tasks.
Yeah.
I actually believe that the internal energetic shifts and the identity you possess is always going to far outweigh any business action, any funnel, anything externally that you do. If you're pushing and hustling and grinding for it without the internal identity that's an energetic match of who you want to become, you'll never be able to manifest it in if you're holding that opposing internal identity. So I love how you're saying at the core of your work, you are helping them up level who they believe they are.
Bingo.
Now, when most people come to you, do do they have that core internal belief from childhood? I'm not worthy. I can't do this. What is your ideal avatar coming to you saying? What is that first identity that you've got to help them shed?
Yeah. So what I find is that what we consciously think is the block subconsciously isn't.
Okay.
So sometimes what I have people do is I have people muscle test to figure out what they actually believe. Sometimes our belief systems come from our ancestors. They come from a past life. They come from different angles, or just early childhood trauma, which is like, I'd say, a lot of it.
Yeah.
And so it's different for everyone. But I think fundamentally, if we believe that we are valuable, that we have gifts, that we are chosen to do something, that is the driving force between whether we're going to make decisions or we're going to hide out.
Right.
100%.
And I think a lot of us too, as well, I'm curious to know if your clients feel the same. A huge thing that I teach is wealth energetics and helping people to attract in the wealth and abundance and success that they deserve. But a lot of times they are blocked from receiving that at the beginning due to their internal subconscious programming from childhood. And we now have data to prove that your subconscious mind is highly reprogrammable and highly impressionable from infancy up until the age of 11. But before the age of 11, you don't have enough life experience to develop your own beliefs. So you're getting them from your parents and your grandparents, like you said, maybe from a past life. So are you finding that most people are coming in energetically blocked due to beliefs of scarcity that are not even their own?
Yeah.
And do they even know it? Are they aware of it?
Yeah.
You know?
So because I hyperfixate on old souls, I find that they have the most programming. It's like when you live a lot of lives, you have a lot of experience, you have more trauma to overcome from past life, from society. So a lot of advanced healers are holding fears that if they're seen, they're going to die. Like, it's actually that strong. It's not just like, oh, my friend's going to reject me. Oh, this guy won't like me. It's like, I viscerally believe I'm going to die.
Yeah.
It can run that deep.
That is crazy. And I feel like most people don't even know that what may be holding them back.
100%.
And we've also learned that when you store trauma in the body, it can physically block you from accepting anything in your life. Love, wealth, relationships, it can block you from more than just your next energetic level, which I find is so interesting. I'm curious to know, through the certifications that you do have and the current education, I know you mentioned before you are currently in a PhD program. Is that correct? Which arena is that for?
So I'm studying business psychology now.
Okay, so I'm sure that my audience would love to know, I would love to know as well, along this journey of entrepreneurship and just overcoming everything you have to become your best self, what have been the most challenging? We'll do two. The most challenging and also the most wonderful and beautiful things you've been able to experience by growing your brand and becoming visible yourself.
I think the biggest challenge is I feel like at different levels you have to hold certainty before your 3D catches up. And I feel like I thought that, like, in the beginning, obviously you have to hold the vision way stronger and harder when you have no evidence.
Yes.
And it gets so much easier the more and more evidence you have. But as someone who's very ambitious, you know that you just keep dreaming bigger.
Yep.
And there's always certainty that you get to hold in that messy middle or in the next pivot or in the next stage or in the next quantum leap. So I feel like it's this kind of continuous process of creating a bigger vision and then holding the certainty to get there. And sometimes that takes a lot of uncomfortable action, different levels of leadership, letting go of things that are uncomfortable or hard to. So I think every level has deeper levels of faith that's required.
Yeah. And it's funny you say that too, without wanting to hold the vision of your ultimate desire without any physical proof in the 3D. That's something that my clients come to me for all the time. And I tell them, and I'm sure you share this in your work as well, it's so funny because people think the 3D, the physical plane, is permanent. It's not. It's malleable. It can shift and conform at any moment. It's simply responding to your dominant energetic vibration. So when you go internally and you start to believe you are somebody different and you deserve something different, your 3D can change tomorrow. I've had students manifesting wealth and abundance for a month. On the last day, everything can change. And it's crazy that you do have to be successful and to call that vision in. You have to remember that the current 3D can change at any second. It's not permanent, and it's simply responding to who you believe you are. So the best thing you can do is believe in that next higher level. And we know through quantum physics, every infinite version of reality already exists. The version of you making 20 million this year already exists, right? So I'm sure the versions of your clients who are wanting to go to that next level, I'm sure you guide them into believing the truth that that version of them is already existing vibrationally. And when they bust through all of this internal work, it's going to collapse into matter. Is that something that you've experienced?
100%. It's just constantly closing those gaps.
Yeah.
And I think that first initial leap, quantum leap, it takes such a level of brainwashing that people don't realize it's like a full-time job. But then once you get the hang of it and you're like, okay, I know the formula, I know how to do it, it becomes more natural.
Yeah.
And you just don't doubt as much. I mean, sure, there might be little slivers of it because that's like a sign that you're playing a big game.
Yeah.
But that initial quantum leap to go from like struggling dead in bed to like CEO of a 7-figure in such a short amount of time it was a full-time job.
Oh, 100%. I feel like on my personal journey as well, there have been many mini quantum leaps to get to that point. Yeah. Sometimes I feel like you've got to break the goal down into smaller steps, kind of up the ladder. If your brain can't conceptualize making 20 million this year, I want to say because it's not realistic. I don't believe in realistic. I believe you can do anything. But if that genuinely is not something digestible at the moment, I tell my students, start with attracting your first 10K, 5K, that first speaking gig, that first whatever. And like making those little quantum leaps into that version of you, I feel like is so incredibly important. So I'm curious to know, as well as I'm sure my audience as well, in terms of manifestation, do you believe you can manifest anything? Do you believe that when something comes into the 4D in your imagination, you can make it into a reality? Do you believe everyone is meant to be an entrepreneur and to go throughout this journey? Do you believe some things are unachievable for some? Based on your experience and everything that you've been through, what is your take on that?
Yeah, I think it's backed by neuroscience that we literally can create anything that we desire.
Yeah.
I don't think entrepreneurship is on everyone's heart. I think you have to have a certain kind of personality. You got to feel the pull. You got to be comfortable with risk. You got to get comfortable with visibility. And I don't think that's for everybody in this lifetime.
Yeah.
But if you have that pull, you can absolutely create
100%.
it. Yeah.
And do you think the clients who come to you where they know they're an old soul, so they're already within your energetic vibration, they're already gravitating towards you because they know you're the mentor for them, they know they've maybe got those visibility wounds, do you believe that they will not be able to achieve the success they desire if they don't break through that? If they don't learn what their soul is meant to learn during this lifetime, will they be able to call in everything they desire? Or is there a way that people can stay blocked if they don't opt in to do this work?
Yeah, so kind of how I see it when people come to me is I see them at that finish line. I see them at the end result. So I'm just there to kind of shorten their path to get that 3D to match where they're at. And if someone is a little bit more blocked, then it might just take a little bit longer. But I don't doubt that it's going to happen to them, especially if they're like stepping into my world. I'm like, oh, duh, this is going to happen. It just might be a little bit more uncomfortable, a little more challenging, or like worst case, it takes a little longer than you think it's going to take.
Yeah.
But I always believe that they're going to get there. Like if you have that desire, it's going to happen, maybe just not on your exact timeline.
Yeah. I like to hold the belief as well for anybody, no matter what they've been through, even if it's been massive abuse or a health condition. I 100% hold the belief in my heart that everybody can create a beautiful life for themselves, any dream possible, but they've got to be willing to go internally, number one, and believe in themselves. Yeah. Number two, come face to face with what they are holding internally, because I think so many of us, until I actually hopped into full force into personal development, I went through a lot of bullying, a lot of trauma growing up that I was kind of afraid to come to terms with and didn't even know I was holding in my body. And I think for a lot of people, they don't even know it's there. And the ones who do know it's there, they shove it down. They don't want to work on it. They don't want to work through it because it's a draining, energetic process. Even physically, we can have physical symptoms, as I'm sure some of your clients have had. What has been your experience? Have you had clients come to you and they've got that energetic baggage from years from childhood? And is it manifesting for them in a way that is physically overwhelming? And is it like, I know your work is just life-changing. When you help them break through that, I'm sure they feel like a weight is lifted off. And I'm sure for you, that feels like as a mentor, you're doing God's work. You're doing your absolute mission in life. Has that been a common experience?
Yeah, well, exactly what you just said. I think a lot of our core wounds are connected to our purpose.
Yes.
So much.
So explain that, because I'm curious on that.
Yeah. So people who are typically destined for the spotlight will experience bullying and public humiliation to an extreme degree early on.
I heard you say that. Okay.
Yeah. So it makes sense that you are doing keynote speaking. It makes sense that you have a podcast. It makes sense that you've been on YouTube for years, right? Like it totally correlates. And so I think part of the soul's journey is taking that wound and making it into something greater. Yes. And that really can happen effortlessly through entrepreneurship.
Yes.
Right? So part of going into the shadow and transforming those darker parts of us and releasing them is being able to kind of see your pain from a greater lens. Yes. If you can kind of go up and be like, the shittiest, hardest thing that I am confronting is because I'm destined to master it so I can make impact. And when you see it from that greater lens, it honestly makes the work a little bit more rewarding, and it goes faster than just like, I got handed shit, this is fucking hard, and I don't know what to do.
But when you know it's for a reason and for your soul's calling, and you will impact people by sharing and publicly going through that and being seen, that is so valuable. I feel like people are going to love to hear what you just said, because if I could think back to myself, middle school and high school were the hardest for me in terms of bullying. I was very overweight, had a lot of acne, was not confident. I didn't possess the current level of education I do now on who I'm supposed to be, what I'm supposed to share with the world. So I'm almost like connecting back now what I've been through to what you just said. What if the bullying and everything I went through that I thought was tearing me down was preparing me for my purpose? Yeah. Like, so if someone watching right now is dealing with, maybe they are younger and they're still in school or college, they're being bullied, or I know people like to say all the time, especially to old souls or big dreamers, you know, growing up, I used to do talent shows and I would like sing on stages, and I always had big dreams for my life, but people will tell you, just be realistic. You can't do that. Who are you to dream that big? And what if in reality, you are the one out of a million who is supposed to dream that big, and that is going to turn around and be your life mission? I feel like for people struggling right now to hear you say, that's going to connect to your overall biggest mission is incredible. How did you come to that awareness to connect that the deepest, darkest things you've gone through are equal to your mission? I love that.
Yeah. So I think part of the preparation is forgetting, right?
Okay.
Like, imagine we saw our lives like a movie and we already know what's going to happen. Yeah. Imagine coming down and living it. Like it spoils the surprise.
Yeah.
So part of the forgetting is like the journey of the hero, waking up, doing the shadow work. Like, that's where the ultimate reward comes. So I think if we just like knew it off the bat, or we knew it when we incarnated here, what was going to happen, we like lose the experience along the way. Experience. That's it.
Yeah. Because our soul was brought here into this earth to go through a very specific journey that's 1 in a billion. Like, your journey is different from mine. You were only meant to walk your path. I was only meant to walk my path. Do you believe that before we were even born, each of our souls had a specific destined path that is already pre-written? I'm not sure if you've dove into like the Akashic records. What do you think about each person's individual path? How do you think free will plays in? Or do you think once our souls incarnate, there's a very specific reason God put us on this planet to live this human experience, and it's only our soul's path to take and nobody else's?
Yeah, I do believe we all have a specific blueprint. And I think part of it is like we have pre-programmed themes and challenges that our soul is here to master in this lifetime. So maybe in a past life, you mastered certain things. In this life, you're like, ooh, let me master these. At the same time, I do think that we have free will. I think we're also granted specific support along the way. But I do think it's ultimately like, I think they're kind of merged together, where we have a destiny and we also have free will. So they kind of work interchangeably. But I also think when you're gifted with a desire, you're going to continue to come back to the destiny.
I was just going to say that. I saw something the other day as well on social media, and it said, what's meant for you is divinely meant for you and you only. And you do have that free will to take a right or take a left or make your own decisions, but it will kind of circle around you in that energetic vibration until you are ready. And I know, for example, like in my own life, speaking of romantic relationships in the past, I finally met my current partner not until my son was 11. So I've been a single mom now for 13 years. I've been with my current partner for about 1.5 years, who's incredible. I'm not going to go off on a long tangent, but just to get your take on this. And I remember going to bed with my son so many nights just praying that I would find my person and I would have my best friend in this life. And looking back, I would have not been ready to meet my current partner until the moment I did. It's almost like our souls were meant to connect at that point. And even though I wanted that love and compassion so bad prior, I wasn't ready for him. And I feel like our souls were meant to divinely meet in that timing. Is that something that you believe in?
1000%.
Okay. And have you experienced that?
Yeah, I have. I'm not in the romantic relationship right now.
Okay.
And I do have a feeling it's going to end up happening like this year. Like you can just kind of feel it when you think it's coming. I do think that we have a destiny with our most compatible soulmate.
Yes.
And I think that it's very common to desire that long before it shows up. And everyone looking back is like, oh my God, it came at the perfect time, but it doesn't feel like that leading up to us. Most of us are like, what the fuck is taking so long?
Yeah, literally. Hey God.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that continuous yearning and calling just shows you that it was because it was meant for you.
Right. And do you find as well, I noticed recently myself within the past year, I've done so much internal work and growth and transformation. I've had so many beautiful people come into my life. I've met so many amazing people, had amazing connections like this that I wanted so badly in the past, but I wasn't internally ready for. I didn't yet possess the identity to call these high-level people into my experience. I'm curious to know for you on your first 7-figure year and now expanding way past that. I know you mentioned struggling in the past as well with school and health stuff. Now, throughout this current time in your life, is it the same thing for you as you continue to elevate energetically? Have you been able to call in new experiences and friendships and mentors? How has that been for you kind of on that rise in consciousness?
Yeah, totally. I think that's it. I think the novelty of greater manifestations is feedback that we're shifting our identity.
Yes.
So 100%, it will continue to like up level and unfold. And I think that that's what makes it fun. It's like a game.
Yeah. And it's almost like every time you go to that next level or you set that intention, as you mentioned before, you're like, I don't care what I have to do. I'm bedridden. I want a new life. You put the intention out there. You sent that out into the universe and it started to provide you the resources and the pathway energetically opened for you to create that business without the hustle and the burnout and the overwhelm that I think most people, I think a majority of the mass population genuinely believe I have to struggle and burn out and hustle and go get 10 side jobs to create the life I desire. So I love finding other people who can share their wisdom that it really is an internal shift. And you even mentioned you're very transparent. You have to take that bold action. You would not be where you are if you didn't build your business, if you didn't call the clients in, if you didn't make the social media videos. I'm curious, if you could put it into words or maybe not a specific percentage, but the bold action versus the internal identity shifts and the internal work, would you say it's half and half to create your dream reality? Do you think the action outweighs the internal outweighs? What is your belief on that?
I feel like it's almost like a dance. So I couldn't have made the bold action without the internal shift.
Yes.
There's just no fucking way.
There's no way.
There's no way. So it was more like the internal, then the external. Then to go to the next level, it's like an internal and then external. So I feel like it's more like a dance.
Yeah.
So if we were to kind of measure it in ratios, I do think it's kind of 50-50. Because I think the bold move is the embodiment of the shift.
Yeah.
And I think we have to shift internally before we can make the bold move. So I think they like go hand in hand together.
They do. Absolutely. Now I'm curious, what would you tell somebody who is the exact version of you, if you could tell yourself a decade ago, or someone watching right now who's 20 years old, they feel like they relate to your story and they are struggling, becoming visible, sharing their gifts with the world, but they want to be where you are right now. What are maybe 2 things that they could put into practice today to get them on that path to become visible and live a beautiful life?
So number 1, I think it's like whatever the most like fucked up thing is that you're going through is going to be the thing that you're going to master in this lifetime. And so I think just holding that belief, no matter how bad it gets or how rough it is or how dark it is pivotal in the process of transforming it into something bigger. So that's like first and foremost, seeing it from that higher lens. Yeah. And then the second part of it, fear of being seen and lack.
Yeah.
So I feel like those are the people that are meant to master abundance. If we kind of take the pain and we flip it.
Yeah.
So that overcoming process of like undoing the layers of lack, undoing the fears of being seen is so rewarding when you get to the other side of it. And it's like the harder it is right now, the more people you can serve because you can match them at their perspective. Like if it wasn't that hard or you didn't really understand lack, how are you supposed to guide a community?
Exactly. So kind of guiding them into the awareness that their lived experience is going to be their secret sauce in helping others because they've actually lived through it. And I feel like that's probably why you are an impeccable mentor for your women, because you're not just talking the talk, you've actually lived it. And if someone says, I'm struggling going through this, you can say, that was me a few years ago. And I think that's what makes the most genuine, authentic mentors. I'm sure people you follow, you want to follow someone. Like for me, I personally do not relate to a story where it's just always been easy for someone. That was never my journey. Yeah. I love to see a good story of someone overcoming and killing it. I'm like having a standing ovation in my room for them because when someone really defies all odds, especially with everything you've been through health-wise, growing up and everything, to know that you have kind of now overcome that and you are on such a beautiful path. I just hope that you're so proud of yourself today. And I hope that you look back and like, I know for me, when I think about my teenage self or the version I was 13 years ago when I had my son, if I could look back at that girl who was struggling and say, it's going to be okay, you're going to figure it out, and almost give her a hug, I feel like that would just give someone all the hope they need. Sometimes people just need something to keep going. Yeah. And I feel like especially with your social media content, that's first what drew me in is your the motivation, the hope, the inspiration, and you just saying like, hey, whatever you're struggling with right now, that's going to be your biggest anchor. Mm. And I feel like that's a blessing to more people than you even know.
Wow. Thank you so much. And yeah, that's exactly whoever's listening to this right now. Like that message of just someone seeing your journey and being like, if it's really fucking hard, it's because you're here for greatness. Yeah. Like that alone can shift someone's perspective in how they're seeing their hardship and have them maybe take a different action. So it's been amazing connecting with you. And I'm also so proud to see you guide your community and the way you're like rewiring people's brains and having them really come out of lack to abundance is like the greatest gift you could give someone.
I know. We talked so much before. We're like, we should make this episode 4 hours because we have so much to chat on. But I want to end with asking you, what would you say is your big mission? And if you could look ahead 5 years for your company and her apologetic success, if nothing was off limits, what would be the goal for you and your brand within the next few years?
Yeah. So I think I'm sent here to take like the hidden healers and transform them into a household name within their niche.
Okay.
Or bigger. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like the pathway that I'm on is just continuous impact, like limitless impact. I have like a fire in my soul that is just like, you can't put it out. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to just continuing to be able to expand the company and help other people really create that insane level of visibility for themselves.
Yeah. Just helping as many people as you can. And what is a way that myself and my audience can support you and your mission? I know you mentioned a new mastermind that you have. If you want to share a little bit about how that may relate to our viewers, I will link all of that down below so you guys can access all of those resources. But let's go ahead and find out if that's something that would be for you.
Yeah. So if you really want to master content, you want to master your personal brand, maybe you have 6 figures, or maybe even like a little bit less, or you've hit 7 figures, but you're really looking for that like mediagenic opportunities, huge stages, and you want to call that in through content, this is the place to be because I can definitely help people quantum.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to have all of that down below to share with my audience. I'm sure they will be running over to support you. You are incredible. I'm so grateful to have connected with you. I feel like our friendship is going to last far beyond this. And thank you so much for being on today.
Thank you.